To show how much both families valued this engagement, they spent millions preparing the party for Ethan and me. All the upper-class families in the capital were invited. Just as the host was about to take the mic, Ethan's phone rang. I was standing right next to him and could clearly hear the soft female voice coming through the phone. "Ethan, there was thunder this afternoon. The power lines malfunctioned, and the whole neighborhood lost electricity. It's so dark in the house, and I'm really scared. Where are you? Can you come stay with me for a bit?" Hearing that she was alone, Ethan's brows tightened. His voice dropped low. "Your therapist told you already. You're sensitive. You shouldn't be alone. Why did you go home by yourself?" Hannah's voice trembled. "But besides you, Ethan, I don't have anyone. You're about to have a family of your own, so I shouldn't bother you." The moment she finished, she hung up quickly. A wave of uneasiness rose in my chest, and sure enough, the very next second, Ethan pushed past people and told his assistant to prepare the car. He didn't look at me even once before turning his back and leaving behind a complete mess. The guests were confused, whispering among themselves, "What's happening? Where did President Ethan go? The groom left. How can this engagement continue?" Watching Ethan's silhouette disappear, my whole body turned cold. Ethan's mother quickly stepped forward to smooth things over, and the party continued. "Everyone, please don't worry. My son just stepped out to deal with something urgent. We hope you'll understand." Those words were really just meant to comfort me, but how could I not care? Tomorrow, I would be the laughingstock of the entire city. I ignored the news spreading across every outlet. By the time I arrived at the Hart family's villa, the rain had stopped. The door wasn't locked, so I pushed it open. And then I saw Ethan holding a blow-dryer, gently drying the hair of the girl sitting before him. The way he looked at her, full of tenderness, was a look he had never once given me. Hannah was the first to notice me. She jumped up in a panic and quickly put distance between herself and Ethan. She waved her hands, rushing to explain, "Emily, please don't misunderstand. It's just because I'm clumsy. I went outside earlier to get something and slipped into the garden pond by accident. Ethan saw I was hurt, so he helped me dry my hair, that's all." But before I could say anything, Ethan reached out and patted her head. "Silly girl, there's nothing you need to explain." His voice was unbelievably gentle. The humiliation from last night didn't hurt as much as that one casual sentence. My eyes stung and grew wet before I could stop them. I took a deep breath. "Ethan, come outside. I have something I want to ask you." Ethan reluctantly put the blow-dryer down and followed me out into the garden. He still carried that lazy, indifferent look. I stared straight into his eyes. "You left me at our engagement party without a word. I need a reason." He lit a cigarette, the smoke drifting around his face until his eyes were almost hidden. He answered calmly, "Hannah is timid and scared of strangers. She can't be without me. Besides, the marriage between our families is already set. Both sides have invested a lot, status, and real benefits. Why do you have to fuss over every little thing?" I lowered my head and clenched the hem of my dress, not wanting him to see how pathetic I felt. Everyone knew Ethan doted on his childhood sweetheart. Hannah's parents lived abroad year-round, so throughout her school years, it was always Ethan who took care of her. He was practically her guardian. He even personally went out to buy sanitary pads for her when she hit puberty. They grew up together, sharing a long stretch of life before I ever appeared. I had never thought much about it before. I only knew to treat him well, to get my dad to support his career, to help him build connections, to do everything I could to fit into his world. But no matter how hard I tried, there was always a distance between us I could never cross. It felt like I was driving down a road with no end in sight. By today, I finally understood. It wasn't that I wasn't good enough. It was that Ethan's heart had never been emptied. There was already someone in his heart, so I could never step inside. But I lifted my head and calmly said, "Ethan, let's break up." Hearing me say that, Ethan didn't look shocked at all. He didn't believe I had the courage to leave him. He gave me a faint glance. "Emily, don't say things out of anger. I don't like being threatened." I didn't explain anything. I got into my sports car and drove off. After going barely 100 meters, I couldn't help but glance into the rearview mirror. He didn't chase after me, didn't call, didn't try to stop me, still as indifferent as ever. My mood was terrible, absolutely terrible. The moment I saw my close friends asking me out for drinks, I agreed almost without hesitation. The entire group, surprised that I actually said yes, immediately began teasing me. Since when is Emily so busy that she finally has time to hang out? This is unbelievable. Maya has been trying to invite you forever. Seriously, Emily, inviting you is harder than inviting my grandma. Lauren chimed in. I asked for the location and immediately turned the car around toward the club. When I stepped into the private room, the glass table was already covered with drinks. I scanned the room and didn't see him. Good. I felt relieved and sat on the sofa, opened a bottle, and took a long drink. Girls are sensitive by nature, and Lauren had probably already told the group what happened last night. She came over, linked her arm with mine, and said softly, Emily, let's sing. We haven't played any games yet. Why are you drinking straight from the bottle already? I let out a bitter laugh and gently pushed her hand away. It's fine. I just want to drink a little tonight. My friends tried telling jokes and funny stories to cheer me up, but I just couldn't bring myself to smile. I drank bottle after bottle until the door opened again. Under the dim lights, the handsome face of Jason Turner appeared. His cold eyes landed on me, and in an instant they turned mocking. His long legs carried him straight toward me as he sat down at my side. The glossy black suit paired with his lazy posture created a stark contrast. He reached out, grabbed the half-finished bottle in my hand, tipped his head back, and downed it. The alcohol slid down his throat, and he smelled of arrogance. Jason stared at me, his voice dripping with sarcasm. The whole city is talking about you, and you still have the mood to drink? Of course he meant the scandal from yesterday. I glared at him. Jason, since when are you this free? Isn't your tech company newly listed? Shouldn't this be your busiest time? I scoffed inwardly. He was already overloaded and still had the time to meddle in other people's business. He curled his lips into a smirk and leaned closer, letting out a killing blow. Is that guy the reason you refused the arranged marriage with the Turner family? His face is decent, I guess. I immediately snapped and glared toward the seat opposite him. Ryan Zhao, I told you if he's coming, don't call me. Are you crazy? Ryan looked innocent. But this is Jason's place and he organized it. Hearing that, I was speechless. Jason raised an eyebrow. I invited everyone. And now you're trying to kick me out? I didn't bother responding. I didn't want to get into it with him at all. Jason was my childhood. No, I refused to call him something nauseating like childhood sweetheart. I prefer calling him my lifelong nemesis. Unlike Ethan and his sweet, gentle little childhood friend, Jason and I had been at each other's throats since we were kids, arguing 8 times every 2 days. Whenever he was around, the worst side of me would surface. To protect my image, I always tried to avoid being seen with him. I reached out to grab my bottle again, but Jason raised his arm high, keeping it out of reach. Furious, I braced myself against the sofa and reached with my other hand. When I lifted my head, his breath was close against my face. Jason stared at me like a wild predator, but I didn't feel even a hint of romance from it. To me, this man wasn't male or female, just a bastard who needed to be punched. Seeing that I couldn't reach the bottle, Jason even taunted me. That's it? That's all you've got? I let out an angry laugh and snapped back. Why? You like drinking other people's leftovers? Beside us, Lauren finally couldn't take it anymore. Oh my God, you two? Can you just behave like normal human beings for one night? Jason's expression suddenly darkened. He slammed the glass onto the floor, the shattering sound echoing through the room and even drowning out the karaoke. Even I was startled. In a low, heavy voice, Jason said, Ethan humiliated you like that, and you're just going to let them be proud of themselves? Only then did I realize his mood was probably no better than mine. And when this guy lost it, the smartest choice was to stop provoking him. Back in school, he was just as wild and ruthless in fights, completely unhinged. Tonight, he didn't even have bodyguards with him. Fine. Temporary truce. I turned away and muttered, What does any of that have to do with you? But for some reason, Jason was on edge tonight. He suddenly grabbed my hand, his eyes sharp. If I were you, I'd get revenge, and I'd make it brutal. Step 1 is letting them see you're doing perfectly fine without those 2 idiots. I fell silent. Images of Ethan and Hannah being affectionate flashed across my mind. bay, leaving me tangled and overwhelmed. I needed time to calm down. But Jason didn't give me that chance. His voice turned cold again. Right, I forgot, you're spineless. People walk all over you and you just take it. You don't dare to do anything. I was already frustrated, and he had to poke right at my temper. I exploded. Who said I don't dare? I grabbed the bottle Lauren had just opened and took a long drink. Jason clinked his glass against mine lightly, his voice almost seductive. The Turner family is far stronger than the Hart family. If you agree to the engagement, Ethan will be so pissed he won't be able to sleep. But too bad, you're not the type to accomplish anything big. You'd give up benefits over your feelings. I bet you'll refuse the engagement anyway. Just imagining Ethan losing his mind made my blood boil. I slammed the bottle onto the table. Stop guessing my thoughts. I glared straight at him. Jason Turner, let's get married tomorrow. Dare you? Jason's eyes narrowed, a smile tugging at the corner of his lips. Sure, if I don't show up, I'm a dog. Our 4 friends practically exploded. What? You two want to get married? Oh my God. The world is actually ending, isn't it? Please tell us you're joking, please. That night, half asleep on my bed, I vaguely felt someone kissing me. The touch was desperate, almost like he'd been holding back for far too long. My wrists were pinned down, the intensity making it hard to breathe. When I was just about to reach my limit, the person finally stopped. His husky voice whispered, "All right, I'll let you sleep before we get married. Good night, sweetheart." When I woke up, my lips still tingled. I opened my eyes and saw Jason Turner, shirtless, looking down at me. His abs were lean and sculpted. I immediately threw a pillow at his face. "What are you doing in my room?" Jason tilted his head helplessly. "Last night you wrapped your arms around me, calling me Big Brother. You kept hugging me, kissing me, begging me not to leave. What? You forgot already?" Not even a dog would believe that. I snorted in disgust. "Jason Turner, stop making things up." He seemed to be in an especially good mood today. His eyes curved, long lashes casting shadows. And he folded his arms, teasing. "Did you forget what you said last night? Do you still want to register the marriage? Still want revenge? Or did you chicken out already?" Of course he knew every weak spot of mine. One single provocation from him, and I instantly forgot all the strange warmth lingering on my lips. I jumped out of bed and changed clothes. After breakfast, we went straight to the Civil Affairs Bureau. The staff member looked at the 2 dark-faced people standing in front of her and fell silent, clearly unsure what to think. The staff woman hesitated, lowered her voice, and asked me, "Miss, are you doing this willingly? If he's threatening you, just blink once." I forced out a crooked smile. "I'm doing this willingly. Really, I'm extremely happy." She scratched her head and continued processing the paperwork. In the end, the 2 red marriage certificates landed in our hands. I walked out of the building with a heavy heart, Jason Turner walking beside me. Above us, the sun was blazing. The rain from the past few days had dried up completely. A sunny day during rainy season was rare, yet all I could think about was the gloomy, suffocating engagement ceremony. The emptiness in my chest ached. As soon as I stepped into the sunlight, a shadow covered me. Jason was standing lazily next to me, holding an umbrella over my head. "Are you blind? The UV today is insane and you're not even trying to shield yourself." I looked at him and sighed. I couldn't imagine how chaotic my life would become if I had to spend the rest of it with Jason Turner. Not wanting to talk, I turned and began walking in the opposite direction. Jason grabbed my wrist and pulled me back toward him. I frowned and looked up, only to see his expression suddenly serious. "Stop. Come home with me. To the Turner family." His voice carried undeniable authority. For a moment, the image overlapped perfectly with the powerful CEO who dominated the business world. His sudden seriousness left me completely confused. To me, this whole thing was just revenge. After we got back at them, we'd each go home and pretend nothing happened. Jason just wanted to watch me make a fool of myself. Why would he talk about taking me to his family home? That would drag all the adults into this mess. Before I could even open my mouth, he didn't give me any room to negotiate and pulled me straight into the car. The moment I sat down, the driver started the engine. Jason interlaced his fingers with mine, locking me in place. I struggled. "Jason Turner, what are you doing? Don't drag our parents into this." His expression stretched into a long, annoyed line as he leaned in closer, staring directly at me. "Emily Shen, you stole my first kiss last night. You touched me, hugged me, kissed me. There's video of everything. You're not planning to take responsibility?" I stiffened and glanced nervously at the driver. I quickly slapped my hand over Jason's mouth. "Stop talking." I didn't. But before I could finish, Jason pressed play. The car filled with soft, breathy sounds, my sounds from last night. It was unmistakably kissing. My face burned red as I lunged forward and shut it off. Jason's lips curled into a smirk. "So, are you coming to the Turner family or not?" I had no way out. Grinding my teeth, I muttered, "Fine. I'll go. I'm not scared of anything." When the car reached the commercial district, traffic was terrible. At a red light, the car rolled to a stop by the sidewalk. As the window lowered, I saw a familiar figure. Ethan Hart, carrying an exquisitely decorated birthday cake, wearing a relaxed, joyful smile. Wind swept past as Hannah Lewis rose on her toes to button the gray silk shirt under his black suit jacket. 10 bodyguards stood behind them, each holding luxury shopping bags. On top of the cake were the words, "Happy birthday, Hannah." Watching them together, so intimate, so harmonious, a wave of bitterness surged inside me. It felt like the peach blossom wine I had brewed for 10 years had been poured straight into someone else's cup. I had been the one standing by his side all this time, protecting him. Yet he took the warmth I gave him and used it to love someone else. When I walked away, he didn't stop me. Not a call, not a single text, as if this ending had been natural all along. But just one sentence, "I'm scared of the dark," from her, and he rushed to her like the world was collapsing. Maybe he had forgotten how his eyes once burned because of me. Back when Ethan first took over the family business, he was dealing with the chaos left behind by his relatives. Everyone's eyes were on him, waiting for him to fail. Internal power struggles never ceased, and he carried crushing pressure while fighting to reclaim control. I met him for the first time at a banquet. His brows were furrowed, his whole expression tense. The phone in his hand kept buzzing nonstop. That night everyone was drunk, everyone except the two of us. I walked over and clinked my glass with his. "CEO Hart, coming to a party is basically just changing workplaces, isn't it?" Ethan lifted his head to look at me, momentarily stunned, almost dazzled. "Sorry," he said quietly. "Work has been overwhelming." I crossed my legs and smiled at him. "CEO Hart has been fighting alone for too long. Of course you're exhausted. How about we play a game?" That day, Ethan's luck was unbelievably terrible. He kept losing miserably and owed way too many drinks. But he needed to stay sharp for work, so he looked at me apologetically. "I really can't drink anymore. Can we switch to another punishment?" I stared at his handsome face and curled my lips. "A punishment? Fine, then be my boyfriend." I had a hot temper and was quick to anger. There probably wasn't a punishment more perfect than that. Ethan chuckled softly. "Gladly, I'd love to." I had been the one pushing for cooperation between our families, bringing him connections and opportunities. But in our relationship, I had always been the one holding on to him. I took care of him in every way. Maybe because of that, he forgot that I deserved to be loved too. Thinking about it made my heart twist. I pulled out a cigarette, lit it, and let the smoke swirl. But before I could exhale the first puff, Jason Turner blocked it with his mouth, closing the car window and grabbing my head to kiss me deeply. A faint wisp of smoke lingered between us. His striking eyes fixed on me as he kissed me. Jason kissed aggressively, yet with surprising softness. The heavy feeling in my chest was suddenly replaced by something harder to define. After he had indulged himself enough, he slowly let me go. Jason rested his forehead against mine, his voice low and hoarse. "When did you learn to smoke?" I instinctively tried to snap back at him, but the compromising position we were in reminded me it was better to stay quiet. I looked down. "Recently." "Oh? Because of another man?" His tone was strange. I lifted my head. "What? Are you jealous?" "No," he replied, a bit too quickly, almost surprising me. "But if he knew you smoked because of him, got caught, and then got kissed by me, that would be entertaining." Thinking about that made me feel like I'd won. I shoved him away coldly. "Get lost." The atmosphere slowly returned to normal. I ignored him for the rest of the ride. When the car finally pulled into the Turner estate, we both instantly switched into performance mode. His grandmother was overjoyed the moment she saw me. She grabbed my hand, her gentle, kind face lighting up. "Emily, you haven't visited since you graduated. You've grown so beautiful." She was still just as warm and loving as I remembered. I smiled. "It's been a while, Grandma. I've been so busy that I haven't had time to visit. How have you been?" "Good, good. You have to come over more often. Back in school, you came here every day. Now you're all grown up and I never see you." Jason wiped his sweat with the hem of his shirt. "Grandma, I'm going to shower. You two chat first." I spent some time talking with her about small things around the house. In the middle of our conversation, I suddenly remembered, back in school, Jason once stole my favorite pen. It had been perfect in my hand. I even fought him over it, and he still hadn't returned it. I knew the layout of his room by heart. Taking advantage of the moment, I slipped upstairs to look for it. When I pushed open Jason's bedroom door, the same neat, clean aesthetic greeted me. I walked toward his desk and saw a picture frame sitting there. Inside was a photo of the two of us. He wore a black windbreaker and casually rested his hand on my shoulder. I looked cold and completely unwilling, yet somehow I cooperated enough for the photo to exist. Staring at it, I froze. Jason and I had known each other since 7th grade, 13 years. And because we couldn't stand each other, we had never taken a picture together. That photo was the only exception. Back then, we were in high school. The school organized a hiking trip. Jason and I had argued halfway up the mountain, the fight escalating until we split from the group entirely. Phones weren't allowed that day, so no one knew where the class had gone. By the time the class took the group photo, we had completely missed it. The teacher looked at Jason Turner, who couldn't be bothered to wear his uniform, then at me, running around refusing to follow instructions, and blew up in anger. "Are you two trying to be special? The whole class waited for you. Now that they're done taking the group photo, what are you showing up for? Go, 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 join another class and take a picture with them." Jason was in class 2, I was in class 1. Yet somehow we got kicked all the way to class 6 to take a photo with complete strangers. I didn't know anyone there, and the teacher scolded us non-stop. My mood was awful. Jason, on the other hand, acted like nothing was wrong. He kept nagging in my ear, teasing me. I got so furious that the moment the photographer lifted the camera, my irritation at him was captured perfectly. And that became our only photo together. Now, in the present, that old class photo had been cropped to just the two of us and placed neatly into a frame on his desk. I held the frame, completely confused. Why would Jason Turner do something like this? What did he mean by it? The sound of running water from the bathroom suddenly stopped. I quickly put the frame back and darted toward the door. But because I was panicking, I moved too fast and crashed straight into Jason as he stepped out of the bathroom. He had only a white towel wrapped around his waist, his still wet hair dripping down his sculpted abs, water glistening across his skin. He looked so attractive, it was suffocating. Seeing me stare, Jason raised an eyebrow and teased, "What are you looking at so intensely? What, did you fall in love with me already?" I scoffed and slipped past him. "Idiot. I just came up to get something." Feeling his gaze burning into my back, I hurried down the stairs, flustered. That evening, Jason announced to his parents that the two of us had already registered our marriage. His parents were so overjoyed they were practically ready to launch fireworks. Our two families had been close for years. They had always hoped we'd end up together someday. Now that their dream had finally come true, how could they not be ecstatic? I sat at the dining table, pretending to be well-behaved while watching his parents call my parents to share the news. And just like that, it became a huge deal. My parents knew now. Whether I wanted this wedding or not, it looked like it was happening. The next morning, while chewing a piece of beef, I secretly glanced at Jason beside me. He looked completely relaxed, smiling like he was genuinely delighted. His acting really was world-class. You'd think we were getting married for real. After my parents heard the news, they were thrilled. They immediately sent a driver to bring me home. On the way, I received a call from the bridal boutique. The staff member's voice was panicked. "Miss Shen, Ethan brought a woman here to try on your wedding dress. I tried to stop them, but I couldn't. Please come quickly." My fingers clenched. That wedding dress had been designed by 8 designers. Donnie himself had crafted custom shoes for me. The entire set was worth millions. I hadn't even tried it on once. Yet Ethan let Hannah Lewis wear it first. My voice turned cold. Uncle Zhang, go to the bridal boutique. When I arrived, Hannah was wearing the dress, standing under the bright lights. The fabric shimmered like a galaxy. She held Ethan's hand, smiling sweetly. When she saw me, she covered her mouth in fake surprise. Emily, you're finally willing to see Ethan? He's been so worried about you these past few days. Wearing heels and an expression void of emotion, I walked straight toward them. Oh? Worried about me? Yet he let someone else try on my wedding dress first. Yes, he's really worried. My gaze turned icy. Ethan immediately stepped in front of Hannah, blocking my view of her. His voice was laced with irritation. If you're upset, just talk to me. Don't take it out on Hannah. I told her to try it. She was curious about the couture design, and I just wanted her to experience it. I stood there silently, feeling nothing but irony. Honestly, I didn't blame Hannah. The problem wasn't her. If it wasn't Hannah Lewis, it would have been a Tracy Lewis, or a Victoria Lewis. There would always be someone to take that place. The man standing in front of me was the real one responsible for pushing two women into misery, into a pointless battle. If he had been loyal from the beginning, none of this would have happened. But even though I understood that now, I wasn't some saint. The person who hurt me would have to be ready to face the consequences, whether it was him or her. I forced down the sour sting rising in my nose and raised my head. My family paid half the cost of this wedding dress. I have every right to decide what happens to it. Miss Lewis, if you don't stop smiling right now, I'll sue you for misappropriating someone else's property. Hannah's face turned pale as she grabbed the dress and ran back into the fitting room. Ethan stood in front of me, looking down from above. As the head of the Hart family now, he was no longer the inexperienced young man he once was. His presence was calm, controlled, authoritative. He looked at me with arrogant eyes. You've been throwing a tantrum for this long, and you still haven't added me back on WeChat? I gave him a sideways glance and laughed. CEO Hart, I think you misunderstood. I genuinely want to break up with you. Ethan gave a cold, mocking chuckle. If you could really let me go, you wouldn't rush over here like this. Even at this moment, he still thought I was using the same old trick, pulling away so he would chase me. It made sense. Over the years, I had always been the one running after him. He was used to being the one on top, to believing that all he had to do was crook a finger and I would turn back. If this had been before, his words would have shattered me. But now I felt nothing. My mind was focused on one thing. Since when did Jason Turner put that framed photo on his desk? And why would that lunatic do it? My curiosity about Jason was suddenly stronger than my desire for revenge. While I was lost in thought, Hannah emerged from the fitting room. The staff brought out the dress and handed it to me. I took the scissors I had hidden from the reception counter and sliced straight down. The motion was so fast the two of them didn't react in time. I flicked my hand sharply, sending the white fabric swirling like snow through the air. By the time Ethan shouted, the wedding dress was already in shredded pieces, scattered all over the floor. Emily Shen, are you out of your mind? Ethan roared. Hannah's lips trembled as she whimpered. That dress was worth millions. I calmly returned the scissors to the staff and slowly turned to Ethan. CEO Hart, the dress is ruined. The engagement between our families is over, effective immediately. Ethan's expression darkened, his voice turning icy. Emily Shen, don't regret this. Even if you kneel and beg me one day, I will never come back. I didn't bother looking at him. You're overthinking. I brushed past him. Behind me, Ethan clenched his fist so tightly his knuckles cracked. News of me tearing the wedding dress spread quickly through high society. Everyone was buzzing about it, saying Ethan ditched the engagement ceremony, and I destroyed the dress. Both sides were throwing punches, neither willing to yield. But everyone also secretly believed we would eventually reconcile. After all, both sets of parents had witnessed the engagement. No matter how dramatic the fight was, surely we wouldn't actually let it become irreversible. I had no interest in clarifying their ridiculous gossip. Instead, I arranged to meet my longtime friend Lynn Miller at a cafe. Lynn had been my classmate through both middle school and high school. Her family ran a small business, nothing like the wealthy crowd I usually hung out with. She was always a little self-conscious, soft-spoken, and often followed behind me quietly. I liked her gentle personality, so I always took care of her. Coincidentally, Lynn had been in the same class as Jason Turner throughout junior high, high school, and even freshman year of college, so she'd heard more than a few of my rants about that infuriating man. As soon as we sat down, Lynn spoke softly. "Emily, you're upset because of Ethan, right? Honestly, I'll tell you the truth. I don't think he loves you as much as you think. Before. You've compromised for him so many times," Lynn said softly. "Are you planning to keep doing that now?" I stared out the window at the street outside. After a long moment, I let out a faint laugh. "Compromise? Lynn, Ethan and I are already in the past." She looked shocked. "Really? Then why do you look so troubled? Worried it'll be hard to explain things to your parents?" The wind chime by the window swayed gently, letting out a crisp sound. I propped my chin on my hand, feeling awkward. "It's not that. I don't know how to say it." I curled my fingers, motioning her closer. When she leaned in, I whispered to her everything that had happened at the Turner house. The moment I finished, Lynn's hand slipped. Her coffee cup fell to the floor and shattered. She panicked, apologized, and avoided my eyes completely. After the staff cleaned up the mess, we sat back down. Seeing her unusually tense state, I asked, "What's going on? Why are you reacting like this just because I mentioned Jason Turner? Don't tell me, you like him?" Lynn flailed her hands in horror. "No, Emily, I wouldn't dare." I pointed at her small face. "Lynn Miller, you're hiding something from me." Her lower lip trembled as cold sweat formed on her forehead. Seeing her like that, irritation rose in my chest. I always told her everything, yet she hid things from me without even offering a single explanation. "Fine," I said, lifting my bag. "Seems like there's nothing left to say." Lynn hurriedly chased after me and blocked my path. "Emily, I'm sorry, I really was hiding something from you. It's about Jason. Do you remember Neil Zhao?" I froze. Neil Zhao, wasn't he the troublemaking senior from second high? Back in high school, Neil was notorious for having good grades and even better fighting skills. He often led his gang to pick fights with students from other schools. Once, he even cornered me. I didn't bother with idiots like him, so I tried to walk away. But he, being the arrogant jerk he was, grabbed me. I fell, scraped my knee, and blood started dripping. Furious, I kicked him squarely in the stomach. Neil had threatened me afterward, saying not to walk home early the next day. But when the next day came, nothing happened. And strangely, Neil never appeared around our school again. Lynn told me that she had witnessed something that explained it. She said Jason Turner had once stormed into second high and beaten Neil nearly unconscious. The next part unfolded in her memory. Early in the morning, second high sat along Lynn's route home. That afternoon, the sunset painted the sky red. She had her backpack on, walking as usual. Near the intersection by second high, she heard screams, raw, painful screams. Panic shot through her. Everyone knew second high was full of delinquents, but she didn't expect it to be that bad. As she sped up to walk past, she glanced toward the noise and froze. The person grabbing Neil by the collar, beating his face swollen and purple, was her classmate, Jason Turner. The realization had stunned her. This was the future CEO, the heir of the Turner family. This was my infamous rival. Jason's face was cold, his actions ruthless. He slammed Neil's head against the wall over and over, blood smearing the white tiles. "So you think you're tough, huh?" Jason snarled. "You dare lay a hand on my girlfriend?" Neil, dazed and bleeding, groaned. "What the hell did I ever do to you? I haven't even bothered any girl lately." Jason slowly pulled out his phone and shoved a photo in Neil's face. "Remember now, you idiot?" Neil let out a pained rasp. "Jason Turner, are you insane? I only pushed her once." Jason slapped him so hard the sound echoed. "I don't care. From now on, disappear from anywhere near first high." With that, he dropped Neil to the ground. Neil collapsed onto the ground like a lifeless body. His underlings curled up on the floor, clinging to their injuries, not daring to move. Lynn saw Jason Turner's black t-shirt splattered with blood and nearly fainted. Just as she was about to run, a metal rod flew past and slammed into the wall beside her. "You enjoy watching the show that much?" Jason's voice was icy as he stepped toward her. Terrified, Lynn dropped to the ground. I didn't mean to. Please don't hit me." Jason looked down at her. She bowed her head, trembling, and he sneered. Do you want to survive the next 3 years of high school peacefully? Lynn nodded frantically. Jason lowered his gaze. Good. Then you're not allowed to tell Emily anything about today. And anything related to me in class, you don't tell her either. If you do. He dragged a thumb across his neck. Lynn had never experienced something like that before. She burst into tears on the spot. I won't say anything, I promise. As she retold it, Lynn's tears began falling again. I didn't know whether to laugh or get angry. You idiot, he was just scaring you. The Turner family raised him to never bully the weak. He especially isn't allowed to bully girls. Hearing that, something clicked in my mind. Jason was loyal? He even used the excuse that I was his girlfriend to avenge me? Lynn watched my reaction and sighed. Emily, how do you still not see that he likes you? She continued, at your engagement ceremony, every important figure in the city was there. Everyone except CEO Turner. I heard he got completely wasted that night. I froze. No way. Impossible. I laughed. You don't know this, but back then when your class and mine had after-school study sessions, he only walked with me because the route home was the same. He would tease me every day. I always ended up furious. He never changed. Lynn lowered her voice timidly. Actually, our class didn't have after-school study sessions. Jason only stayed behind so he could wait for you. He did his homework in the classroom, just so you two could walk out together. My smile vanished. You're telling me your class didn't have study hall? On the way home, Lynn's words kept replaying in my mind. Jason's face kept flashing through my thoughts. The way he always happened to show up under the lecture hall steps, grinning at me and saying, Hey, we meet again. What? Afraid of walking home alone? Trying to use me as your bodyguard? His mouth was so poisonous that I never took him seriously. But now I realized, why did he always appear at the right moment? Why was he always walking with me? I had only ever focused on snapping back at him. So Jason Turner liked me? He liked me? That was like Mars crashing into Earth. It made no sense. But right at that moment, my dad invited Jason over for dinner. By the time I walked into the house, they were already halfway through the meal. Since they knew I'd be late, no one waited for me. My dad looked up. Sweetheart, you're home early. Did you eat with your friends already? My eyes instinctively met Jason's. He was sitting upright beside my dad. Something strange flickered between us. I wasn't that hungry, I said, looking away first. I just grabbed a bite. You two eat. I'll go put my stuff upstairs. My mom called after me. Okay, dear, if you're hungry later, come down and eat more. I went up to my room, my heart tangled like a knot of thread. Sitting at the edge of my bed, memories flooded in. When I first met Jason, he was polite. I didn't know when it started, but at some point he began picking fights with me for no reason. But because of that, we had been in constant conflict. And because of that, Jason Turner became the most vivid imprint in my entire youth. Wherever my memories went, he was there. Could that be what he wanted? Suddenly, I remembered something. During senior year, my friend group went to a famous temple to pray for luck before exams. We all wrote our wishes on paper slips and sealed them in a glass jar. 6 slips in total, and they handed the jar to me for safekeeping. That jar was still in my closet. A thought struck me. I stood up, opened my closet, and took out the jar. If Jason Turner really had done all those things for me, if he really entrusted me with the wish jar, then did he write that wish? I felt like a student taking an exam, anxious to find the answer. I searched through the slips and found the one with Jason written on it. When I opened it, the words were clear and bold. Jason Turner likes Emily Shen. I stumbled back a step. No wonder he handed me the wish jar that day after everyone left. No wonder he warned me, "You're not planning to sneak a look, are you?" I had scoffed and told him, "Who would do something sneaky like you?" He had turned away and muttered, "If you're really that curious, you can read mine." Just as I was still reeling from the truth, I bumped into a solid chest behind me. Jason's deep voice rumbled from right above my head. "You idiot. Took you long enough, it's been years, you're only figuring it out now?" I spun around, glaring at him. You? Like me?" Jason shoved his hands into his pockets, looking annoyingly relaxed. "Is that not allowed?" The sunset poured gold across the windowsill. Droplets of water on the orchid pot glittered softly. Birds chirped through the garden trees. It felt as if time slipped backward into the summers of our youth. The tall man standing before me overlapped perfectly with the arrogant boy from my memories. Those small, subtle feelings I had back then, ones I'd never understood, only now revealed themselves. When I failed an exam, he hid his comfort behind sarcastic remarks. Whenever something happened, he was the first to appear. So this whole time, there had been someone quietly loving me for years. I looked at Jason, complex emotions swirling in my chest, a tiny pang of guilt rising. He stayed calm, too calm. His Adam's apple moved slightly as he stepped closer, his tone teasing. "Why are you staring at me like that? If you like me too, just kiss me already. Don't give me those flirty sideways glances." Honestly, I should have known better than to expect romance from this infuriating man. Even if he became the male lead of a movie, it wouldn't be a decent one. I pushed his chest, shoving him toward the door. "Get out. I'm just thinking. If you're done eating, go home." Jason saw right through me but didn't comment. "Okay." Before the door closed, half his head poked back in, eyes gleaming with mischief. "Hey, shy girl, when are we taking our wedding photos? I already prepared your wedding dress." I turned away. "Tomorrow, fine?" He quietly shut the door. The moment his footsteps faded, I grabbed a pillow and slammed it into the bed, like a maniac. Why am I so stupid? How did I only figure this out now? This wedding photo shoot had been pushed by both families. My parents didn't say anything out loud, but I could tell they were secretly fuming. But the thing that shocked me most, Jason Turner had ordered the wedding dress 2 years ago. 2 years. The dress had been meticulously crafted over that time, and it left everyone speechless. Even my mom couldn't stop praising it. I enlarged the photos on my tablet, thinking to myself, this dress must cost way more than the previous one. Jason truly spared no expense. The tailor placed the veil carefully over my head. I lifted my gaze. In the mirror stood a girl with skin as pale as snow. Maybe only on this day would someone see themselves as the most beautiful bride in the world. A tall silhouette appeared behind me in the reflection. I turned, meeting Jason Turner's eyes. He stood there quietly, staring at me for a long time before his lips lifted into a smile. His voice carried a mix of teasing and a kind of joy he couldn't hide. "Emily Shen, you're really hard to pursue." I smiled back at him. Sometimes I felt a little guilty. Jason had done so much for me. His feelings ran so deep. Meanwhile, mine for him were like a loading bar that had just barely begun to move. Everything was only starting. I wanted to return his feelings. I just didn't know how much would be enough. But with the years of unspoken understanding between us, I knew one thing for sure. If I told him all this, he would simply hope that I, Emily Shen, would always stay exactly the way I am in front of him. I wanted to stay the cheerful, free-spirited girl I used to be. So I simply smiled, tugged lightly on Jason's tie, and said, "But I come with a long shelf life. Once you win me over, it's for life." Jason's eyes flickered. "You said it yourself." The photography team was incredibly professional, and everything went smoothly. The photos turned out beautifully. The studio owner even asked if they could use our pictures for display samples. Neither Jason nor I had any objections. A week later, the edited photos were finished and placed in elegant frames on the studio wall. The day we visited to see them, we happened to run into Ethan Hart's younger cousin, Lila Hart, who had also recently gotten engaged and was there for her own wedding shoot. The moment she saw our photo on the wall, Lila froze. Just a few days ago, she had bragged during a gathering that I would definitely come crawling back to apologize and rekindle things with Ethan. Yet now, seeing this, it was clear the daughter of the Shen family had already found her true love long ago. The next morning, Lila refused the studio manager's invitation to continue styling. She rushed outside with her phone. "Ethan, we have a big problem." Meanwhile, Jason, this devil, had barely been my fiancé for a short time and was already stirring up trouble. He sipped his tea innocently while telling my parents, "The new house is fully furnished, but I'm worried Emily might not like it. It's all right, though. She's busy. If she doesn't want to come inspect it, I'll just handle everything myself." My mom immediately scolded me afterward, saying I was irresponsible for dumping everything on Jason's shoulders. Anyone could see that fake gentleman was just looking for an excuse to spend more time alone with me. After dinner, furious, I stormed over to find him, only to walk in on him lounging comfortably, wearing silk pajamas, legs crossed on the sofa. brewing tea while watching a movie. I was the one who'd been scolded. He was the one enjoying life. Unbelievable. I snatched the remote from his hand. You manipulative fox. Jason Turner, you really are a manipulative fox. His pajama collar was slightly open, revealing the sharp lines of his collarbone. He lazily reached out and pulled me into his lap. I remember when you were still with Ethan, he murmured, sounding wounded. You called him every 3 days and met up every few. So what, I'm not as good as him? I haven't seen a single phone call from you. His eyes were full of grievance as he stared at me. I felt a little guilty. Well, we've been friends for years, haven't we? Jason snorted. Right. Because I'm too familiar. You think you can treat me casually, huh? Did you forget what we are now? To be fair, shifting from friends to lovers was a bit awkward. My brain hadn't fully updated its software yet. That really was my fault. I quickly surrendered. Okay, I was careless. I'm sorry. From now on, I'll call you every day. All right, honey. No, sweetheart. God, even saying that felt weird. Jason's expression darkened further. He flipped us over, pressing me down onto the sofa. See? This is why we need to make some adjustments, so you'll finally understand that I'm your man. I paused for a few seconds, then nodded slowly. Fine. Jason pulled at his collar, scooped me up bridal style, and tossed me straight onto the bed. He slipped off my coat, braced one arm beside my ear, his whole posture radiating dangerous charm. But this was still Jason Turner, the person I had fought with since childhood. I couldn't help laughing. Jason frowned, clearly displeased. What's so funny? It just feels like my left hand is holding my right hand. Get it now, sweetheart? Jason stared at me with no expression. The next second, he kissed me hard. I'll make you change your mind. His long fingers slid along the curves of my body, every place he touched setting my skin on fire. Half an hour later, my eyes were watery, and I clenched my teeth, begging for mercy. My phone kept ringing non-stop. A strange number. Messages flooded in one after another. Emily, what's with the wedding photos? Pick up the phone. Why is this happening? Our families agreed to an engagement. How could you do this? Didn't you once say you'd never leave me no matter what? I wasn't in any state to respond to anyone. That maniac Jason Turner had me trapped while reading every message aloud, repeatedly asking whether I liked Ethan or him. I could only drown beneath the waves he created. When I finally regained clarity, my whole body ached. Furious and embarrassed, I slammed a pillow at him. Jason Turner, where the hell did you learn all that? He walked in with breakfast and soy milk, leaned down and kissed my forehead. Raising a brow, he asked, So, do you still see me as just a friend? I bit into the sandwich aggressively, refusing to answer. You're too much. That afternoon, we were scheduled to meet the Turner elders to discuss the wedding. Jason and I arrived at the ancestral house on time, but Jason's mother's close friend had suddenly returned from abroad, so both his parents had gone out to greet her. The large villa was empty, leaving only me and Jason inside. Once the door was unlocked, Jason immediately started being restless. He pulled me into his arms, kissing and hugging me non-stop. I was still sore from last night's torment, and it would take days before I could recover. Thankfully, the jerk still had a little conscience left and didn't push me further. He lowered his head and gently kissed my forehead, his slender fingers brushing my hair with surprising tenderness. Right then, the front door slammed open. Outside, the security guard shouted, Mr. Hart, you can't enter. This is private property. Ethan stood there, breath heaving, and when he saw us, his fists clenched so hard the veins on his arm bulged. Anger clouded his face. Just a few days of coldness, and you've already fallen into Jason Turner's arms? His voice shook with rage. Then what am I? All those years, were they fake, Emily Shen? I never thought you were the kind to betray someone. I felt nothing, not even a flicker of emotion. This numbness. Wasn't it the same feeling he had given me so many times? When he stood beside Hannah Lewis, did he ever wonder whether I was hurting? I was simply returning to him the exact treatment he once gave me. Yet now he was the one angry? Before I could speak, Jason lazily lifted his eyes, a smirk touching his lips. Why so anxious, ex-husband? You're with your childhood sweetheart. She's marrying her childhood crush. Seems perfectly fair to me. Ethan narrowed his eyes. CEO Turner, what you're doing is hardly gentlemanly. There's a proper order to things. Jason let out a short laugh, as if he'd heard something ridiculous. Mr. Hart, did you not know Emily and I have known each other since middle school? Who came first isn't so clear. Ethan flushed with fury. He lunged forward and grabbed my wrist, yanking me to my feet. His grip was so strong it hurt. He tried to drag me outside to talk privately, but before he could take more than a few steps, Jason grabbed my other hand. Two opposing forces pulled me in opposite directions, stretching my arms painfully. Let go, I snapped. Jason's face darkened. Mr. Hart, where exactly are you planning to take my wife? Even if you regret the past, you shouldn't behave so rudely. Ethan froze. What the hell are you talking about? Emily is my fiancée. Jason chuckled, completely unfazed. He casually pulled out a red booklet and set it on the table. Mr. Hart, perhaps you've had too much to drink and aren't thinking clearly. The Turner family has already sent out the wedding invitations. Next month, our guests will gather to attend the wedding between me and my wife. Didn't your parents inform you? When Ethan opened the booklet and saw the wedding photos, panic flashed unmistakably in his eyes. He stared at me, horrified, grabbing my arm. Emily, you did this on purpose, didn't you? You're mad at me, so you did this to get back at me, right? Right? I coldly shook his hand off. Ethan Hart, I already told you we're over. Ethan drew a deep breath, rubbed his forehead, then looked at me again. Emily, listen to me. I admit I neglected you before, but I truly love you. There's nothing between me and Hannah. I've only ever treated her like a sister. Don't misunderstand. Jason immediately stepped in front of me, his expression icy. Mr. Hart, I'd appreciate it if you'd stay away from my wife. Ethan exploded, sweeping a vase off the table and sending it crashing to the floor. He pointed at Jason, rage twisting his face. Jason Turner, you really think the Hart family is easy to bully? Jason let out a mocking laugh and delivered a sharp kick that sent Ethan sprawling. Then he stepped forward and threw two more punches, his voice calm and deadly. I've tolerated you long enough. By the way, Mr. Hart, your company's been having problems, hasn't it? Why don't you deal with your tax evasion and copyright violations first? That's what, over $10 million in losses? And you still have the time to pine after another man's wife? Ethan staggered, teeth clenched. You're framing me. Jason dusted off his hands, returning to his usual cool demeanor. Without proof, don't slander me. I've been a model student since school, remember? Then he glanced at the security guards. Mr. Hart, my wife and I still have matters to discuss. See him out. The guards dragged Ethan away, but his eyes stayed locked on me until the door shut. I felt nothing. Not pity, not guilt, nothing but cold detachment, just like the way he once looked at me beside Hannah. News of the Turner-Shen union spread across the entire city in no time. Everyone said the childhood sweethearts made a perfect match. Rumor had it that Ethan got so drunk that night he vomited blood in a bar. He messaged me every day after that, desperately begging me to return. Emily, now I finally understand how you felt. These past 2 days I've been going crazy. Just thinking about you with Jason makes my blood boil. I want you back. You were always supposed to be mine. But I was busy with wedding preparations and work. I had no time to bother with him. One evening after work, I headed to the parking lot like usual, only to be blocked by a familiar figure wearing a cap and mask. She spread her arms to stop me. Looking closely, I recognized her. Hannah Lewis. She spoke in a panic. How can you be so heartless? Ethan drank himself unconscious because of you. He got into an accident. He's dying. He's been calling your name non-stop. Are you really not going to see him one last time? I stood still. Uncle Hart had treated me well before. If something involved someone's life, I couldn't ignore it. But I wasn't going to go alone. I pulled out my phone to call Jason so he wouldn't misunderstand. But Hannah immediately yanked me toward a car. There's no time. If you call now, we won't make it. She dragged me all the way to a private hospital. The moment I opened the door to the room, the inside was pitch black. Then I heard the lock click behind me. A faint light flickered on. Ethan rushed forward like a madman and cupped my face with trembling hands. Emily, you won't abandon me, right? When I was at my lowest, you were the only one who helped me. I love you the most. The sight of him made my scalp prickle with fear. I shoved him away and kept my distance. Ethan, don't you realize how childish and pointless this is? When I wanted to talk seriously before, you avoided me like the plague. Now that I'm married, you won't let go. His eyes reddened. He screamed, voice cracking. Then what do you want me to do? Tell me, what do I have to do? Why? We had made promises to each other. You can't marry him. Ethan's father slowly removed his jacket, a twisted smile spreading across his face. This room is full of cameras. If a video of you and me entangling gets leaked, do you really think the Turner family will ever accept a daughter-in-law like you? He stepped toward me, voice low and warped. Don't blame me. It's only because I love you too much. Terrified, I backed away, fumbling behind me, desperately hoping to find something, anything, to defend myself. Luckily, in the corner of the storage area, I spotted a broom. I grabbed it and swung it straight at him. Ethan Hart, have you lost your mind? He laughed like a lunatic. Yes, I've already lost it. Watching you cozy up with Jason Turner, I've been losing my mind for a long time. That's when I realized just how much I love you. Emily, I can't live without you. He was completely unhinged. No matter how hard I hit him, he didn't back off. Just as he was about to reach me, the door was kicked open. Jason Turner stormed in, radiating murderous fury. The moment he saw the scene, he exploded. You piece of shit, do you have a death wish? He grabbed a metal rod and charged, beating Ethan relentlessly. Behind him, Hannah Lewis, hair disheveled, was being pinned down and pummeled by several women. Ethan, pampered his entire life, couldn't possibly fight Jason. After only a few blows, he collapsed to the ground, blood dripping from his nose and mouth. Jason, breath ragged, rushed to pull me into his arms. His hands were still trembling when he touched me. I'm sorry. I'm late. Baby, were you scared? I hadn't even processed everything yet. I only shook my head. Jason hugged me tighter. This is my fault. I didn't protect you well enough. I rested against his chest. Don't worry, I'm fine. His voice turned cold. I promise you, this will never happen again. A few minutes later, the police arrived and took both Ethan and Hannah away. My heart was still pounding uncontrollably. Ethan had clearly planned everything meticulously. I was a senior manager in a corporation. If this incident became a scandal, it could affect the entire company. Not to mention the Turner family's reputation. If they found out what happened, would they still accept a daughter-in-law like me? And because my engagement with the Hart family had been public, if I went back to Ethan, everyone would think it was only natural. He had planned every step carefully. But I had underestimated him. I never thought he'd be shameless enough to gamble with his own life. After the incident, Jason's hatred for Ethan reached the bone. He gathered enough evidence and handed everything to the police. In the end, Ethan Hart was sentenced to 2 years in prison for attempted sexual assault. When Hannah Lewis heard the news, she went completely insane. She showed up outside my home, hair wild, smashing things, screaming like a madwoman. Emily Shen. You bitch. Give Ethan Thorne, give Ethan back to me. You've been together for so many years. How could you be so heartless? He only favored me a little, and you jealous whore, you ruined him. It was just one little mistake. How could you do this to him? I had endured enough of her. I walked straight up to her, lifting my chin. Hannah Lewis, forget him, even you. I won't forgive. They say destroying 10 temples is better than destroying one marriage. Yet you pranced around in front of me again and again. Did you really think I was easy to bully? I pulled out the folder I'd prepared and threw it straight at her face. Remember these? All the unregulated, unsafe products you scam people with in this country? And your father, promoting fake medical cures on social media? Miss Lewis, is there anything you won't do? Her expression instantly changed. People like her, who relied on dirty tricks, never committed only one crime. Once someone's moral compass was twisted, their actions would be just as crooked. Sure enough, once we followed the trail, we uncovered plenty. Hannah's eyes darted. Stop talking nonsense. You have no evidence. How dare you accuse me? I smiled. Believe me or not, it doesn't matter. But the fine from the Market Regulatory Bureau should be arriving any moment now. Good luck, Miss Lewis. Right on cue, her phone chimed. She glanced at the screen, and her face twisted in shock. She screamed, Emily Shen, you dared to ruin me? She didn't even get the chance to lunge at me before the bodyguards tossed her out. 5 days later, her scandal made the news. Not long after that, a customer who had almost died from using her shady, unregulated products showed up at her door to settle the score. Hannah Lewis was beaten so badly her face was swollen and bruised. That very night, she bought a ticket and fled the country. Once everything on their side was handled, Jason Turner's attention focused entirely on me. Lately, he'd been acting like he was drunk on springtime. At home, he never stopped wearing me out. Even after devouring me completely, it still wasn't enough. He even started settling old scores. He caught my wrist just as I was about to enter the study. Jason tilted his head, his handsome face visibly displeased. "This isn't fair." I blinked. "What's not fair?" Beads of sweat glistened along his collarbone. He pushed me down onto the sofa, sounding almost irritated. "Everyone knew you and Ethan were in love. But when it comes to me, all I hear is that you're only marrying me to spite him. Why do I have to be the pitiful side character in everyone's story?" I was speechless. "So what do you want then?" Jason's lips curved. "I'm going to publicly invite Ryan Zhao and the rest of our circle. Call everyone out." He leaned in, his breath warm against my ear, voice low and husky. "You're going to show them how madly you love me and help me shut those rumors down." I couldn't even imagine how embarrassing that would be, but the second his hand squeezed lightly at my waist, I surrendered. Jason Turner was too devious. I really couldn't handle him. At the gathering, I lifted a grape and fed it into his mouth, my eyes gazing at him like they were full of stars. "Baby, is it good?" Jason wrapped an arm around me. "If my wife gives it to me, it's always the best." The four friends beside us stared, eyes wide. Ryan Zhao muttered, "Emily, blink if you're under some kind of spell." Lauren Dunn rubbed her eyes. "Why do I feel like I'm still dreaming?" Maya Chu waved a hand dramatically. "Wait, so you two are actually real?" Diana Tang sighed. "Honestly, I'd sooner believe this was just brotherly love." I smiled sweetly. "I've actually liked Jason for a long time." Ryan's eyes nearly popped out. "What? My entire belief system just collapsed." Jason looked smug beyond belief as he lowered his head and kissed my forehead. Right then, the door to the private room opened, and Lynn Miller stepped in, looking a little nervous. Lauren's eyes lit up. "Lynn, you finally agreed to come out with us? Before this, no matter what we did, you wouldn't." Lynn gave an embarrassed smile. "Back in school, money was tight." Maya waved it off. "Oh please, no one's asking you to pay. When you're with us, you just show up and have fun." Lynn greeted everyone one by one. When her eyes fell on Jason, she flinched and quickly looked away. I knew she was still feeling guilty for not keeping his secret all those years ago. Jason smiled at her. "Our MVP support is here. When we get married, make sure you sit at the main table." Lynn blinked in confusion. "Jason, you're not mad at me?" Jason's mouth quirked. "If it weren't for you, this dumb little fish would have stayed clueless for at least 2 more years." "Thanks, super support, Lynn." Lynn pressed her lips together in a small smile. "I didn't really do anything." Jason tapped a finger against his cheek, signaling me to kiss him. I grit my teeth and gave him a quick peck, then leaned into his ear and muttered, "That's enough. I'm about to break character." Jason just looked at me, smiling. "You still owe me, and I'm collecting every bit." I pouted, unable to argue. Later that afternoon, he drove his supercar and took me to a bridge to watch the sunset. Back in school, whenever I was in a bad mood, he always brought me here to catch the breeze. I leaned against the railing as the evening wind brushed my cheeks. Using the tip of my shoe, I nudged a pebble on the ground and suddenly asked, curious, "Hey, when did you start liking me?" He turned his head to look at me. "Middle school." That only made me more curious. Back then I was just a little brat. "What did you even like about me?" Jason thought for a moment, then said, "Since when does liking someone need a reason?" He just shrugged. "I just liked you, that's all." I snorted. "You're just saying that." He hesitated for a moment, then continued, "If I really had to give a reason, then maybe it's because you were confident and carefree." He glanced at me. Back in middle school, my dad was extremely strict. I didn't dare mess up. I wanted everything I did to make my parents proud. Everyone kept saying, "With parents that impressive, you'd better not embarrass your family. You have to be the best." He looked at me. "But you were different." I remembered that moment too, when the teacher dragged both of us into the office. "She scolded you for disappointing your parents, for not meeting the teacher's expectations," he said. "But you weren't upset at all. You just said you'd try your best, but trying your best didn't mean you had to please everyone." He smiled faintly. "You even said, 'This is who I am. If you're unhappy with me, that's fine. I can't just walk back into the factory and get recast. I burst out laughing, remembering the teacher's face turning red with rage. Jason lifted his head slightly. Maybe it was that moment. You made me understand the kind of person I wanted to become. That's why I liked you. I crossed my arms. Why don't you just admit it's because I'm shameless? I knew exactly what he meant, but still teased him on purpose. So Jason Turner used to be a model student, and somehow I managed to lead him astray. If that's not karma, I don't know what is. The sunset washed over both of us. Jason tilted my chin up and kissed me. His breath was warm when he whispered, "It's fine. It's not like I'm thin-skinned." Soon, our wedding day arrived. I slipped into a pure white gown, holding a bouquet as I stood waiting for the man walking toward me. Below the aisle, friends and family watched with blessings in their eyes. Jason Turner's gaze on me was filled with reverence. I smiled softly back at him. This boy next door who had silently protected me for half a lifetime. A debt of love like that, there was only one way to repay it, with an entire lifetime. And that is the end of the story.